turn to another part of the world. Desert Storm was the US operation in 1991 to throw out the Iraqi army from its occupation of Kuwait. Now there's another storm brewing, and this time in Saudi Arabia, where Crown Prince Salman's ambitious bid for power is creating dangerous foes.
There's a storm brewing in the sands of Arabia. That much was evident when the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman jailed 11 of his fellow princes, ostensibly as part of a campaign against corruption. But now there are reports of the death of Prince Aziz bin Fadh, apparently in a crossfire when his bodyguards resisted his arrest. Earlier, Prince Mansour bin Mukrin died when his helicopter mysteriously crashed in the southern desert near the border with Yemen. There's been no official word from Riyadh as to the cause of the crash. But since it took place the day after the arrest of the princes, there is a suspicion of foul play. Add to that, Saudi Arabia now seems to be in a state of war with tiny Lebanon. This happened after the bizarre resignation of the Lebanese Prime Minister Hariri when on a visit to Riyadh. It follows a missile attack, apparently by the Shia Houthis in Yemen, targeting Saudi Arabia.
He was updated on all details of the situation. He was also informed that these acts are considered a declaration of war against the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia from Lebanon and the Lebanese party of the devil, Hezbollah. So, the Lebanese government will be treated as a government which has declared war.
But why target Lebanon? By targeting Lebanon, the Saudis are indirectly hitting Iran. They know they cannot tackle Iran at this point, but they can make things uncomfortable for Iran's ally, the armed group Hezbollah in Lebanon. By doing so, they are likely to win support from Israel, which feels threatened by Hezbollah. The Saudis seem to have the approval of President Donald Trump, who tweeted his support, saying, quote, "I have great confidence in King Salman and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. They know exactly what they are doing," end quote. For now, Crown Prince Salman appears to hold the cards, but the war in Yemen is going badly. Add to that the death of Prince Aziz bin Fadh, which adds a new and potentially dangerous element to the feud in the royal family. Bureau Report, WION.
Joining us this evening, Ehtesham Shahid, Managing Editor at Al Arabia English from Dubai, and Mojtaba Musavi, founder and editor of Iran's View, with us from Tehran. Good evening to both of you. Ehtesham, we discussed this yesterday. The question I want to ask you this evening is the Crown Prince risking regional stability by his actions?
It's pretty apparent that at the moment his focus is very much on Saudi Arabia, and if we look at the series of events that have unfolded in the last several months, particularly the last week or so, it's basically to consolidate his power, to give send a message to the outside world that Saudi Arabia is ready to play ball when it comes to transparency. It's also trying to bring accountability into it. And of course, there are political decisions, and that's not going to be liked by everybody. So there is bound to be some resistance. And he is at the moment trying to ensure that there is minimum resistance to what he's trying to achieve.
Mojtaba, how do you see this? Is this real reform or just a bit to grab more power?
I think the Saudi defense is trying to empower itself, and he's trying to destroy all of potentials who can undermine his power, because he is evidently
okay, we'll try and fix the audio there. Mojtaba Musavi, do stay with us. Ehtesham, let me put the same question to you. Is it becoming more and more apparent? I mean, it cannot be a coincidence that two princes are killed in 24 hours, that scores of religious leaders are jailed, are rounded up, many other royals are jailed. This seems like a brazen bid to grab more power.
See, you'll have to look at the history and the context. This country is not used to the kind of decisions that have been taken in the last few days. So, and it is also not a place where a lot of political discourse has happened. The powers are centered at the top, and it has flown on the wishes of the top leadership. So any a radical change, especially of the kind that we are witnessing these days, is not something that the country is used to. Now, this apparent decision to bring about this change has also opened so many fronts. So there is clergy on one part, which has been a very powerful force in the country, and there is a leadership which is young, and you may call it brazen, but there are others who describe it as very decisive and firm. So it's become a cocktail wherein it's become imperative to control all the elements that are associated with associated so that this change can be brought about. So if a few decisions have been taken, it has to be followed up with more firm and more expansive decisions to ensure that whatever the end objective is ultimately achieved.
Has the prince become reckless? Is the region on the brink of war? That's a question that we will address in just a bit. Ehtesham Shahid and Mujtaba Musavi, I'm going to request you both to stay with us. We want to show our viewers what the power structure in Riyadh looks like. In fact, it began way back in 2015 after King Salman ascended the throne and reached a turning point of sorts earlier in the year, when the king removed the former crown prince Mohammed bin Naif, his nephew, also known as MBN, and replaced him with his own son, Prince Mohammed bin Salman, known as MBS. That was the trigger for a series of rapid moves to consolidate Prince Salman's hold and eventual ascension to King of Saudi Arabia. Earlier this week, Prince Salman confined 11 ministers, many members of the extended royal family, on charges of corruption. But who are these men and why have they been removed? Let's take a look at the House of Saud. And we are starting with King Salman himself, who ascended the throne in 2015 upon the death of his half-brother, King Abdullah. He was the initiator of the Saudi intervention in the Yemen civil war and has also supported the Al-Qaeda against the Syrian government. He has also refused to support the lifting of sanctions against Iran, as a nuclear agreement initialed with Iran requires, fearing the rise of Iran in the Middle East. In 2016, in fact, a top Shia cleric was executed and drew warnings from Iran that Saudi Arabia would pay a high price. Former Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Naif, is popularly referred to as MBN, as we said. He is King Salman's nephew and was replaced as Crown Prince by the King's own son, Prince Mohammed bin Salman. This happened earlier this year. He is a grandson of the founding monarch, King Abdulaziz. Reports suggest that he was held against his will for many hours, and the ouster was carried out under pressure. He has held a stentorian position against terrorism and was much lauded by Western intelligence officials. Bin Naif's ally and close friend, Prince Muttab bin Abdullah, is one of the 11 currently under house arrest in a luxury hotel in Riyadh. Prince Muttab controls Saudi Arabia's powerful National Guard and has been opposed to King Salman's Yemen and Syria policies. Also locked up inside the luxurious pleasure dome in Riyadh is Prince Walid bin Talal. He's a grandson of the first Saudi king and known as the richest Arab and the 45th richest man in the world. The 62-year-old businessman has stakes in the kingdom holding company Citigroup, of which he is the largest individual shareholder, in 21st Century Fox. Bin Talal owns Paris's Four-Seasons Hotel, George V, and part of Plaza Hotel. He's also known as the Warren Buffett of the Middle East, and his estimated net worth is $18 billion. Prince Turki bin Abdullah is the 7th son of King Abdullah, the former king of Saudi Arabia. He's a former governor of Riyadh province, a trained Air Force and military officer, and a PhD candidate in international studies. Salah Kamel is the next in line, next on this list, in fact. He's one of the two arrestees who is not a member of the royal family. Nonetheless, he is one of the world's wealthiest men and an open supporter of the Syrian president, Bashar al-Assad. He is the founder of one of Middle East's largest conglomerates and also the chairman of several banks. His net worth is $2.1 billion. The other commoner arrested is Khalid al-Tuwajri. He was the chief of the royal court under the late King Abdullah and was the highest official not related to the royal family. He was removed from the post by King Salman in 2015 and has been deeply unpopular and attracted nicknames like the Octopus and the Black Box. The royal family felt that he controlled succession within the family without belonging to it. He was also known as the pioneer of Western-style modernization. And finally, the man at the center of it all, the Crown Prince himself, Mohammed bin Salman, commonly known as MBS, the 33-year-old, seems a man in a hurry, not only to access the throne as king by neutralizing all potential rivals and opponents, but also by deftly building an alliance with US President Donald Trump, with whom he shares a hardline position on Iran. Prince Salman has floated Vision 2030. It's a futuristic vision for restructuring Saudi Arabia's economy and a series of domestic reforms, including small steps in giving Saudi women their rights. They're now allowed to watch sports in stadiums and also drive cars. That will come into effect only next year. Let's dwell a bit more on the story of this man. Ever since he was named the Defense Minister of Saudi Arabia in 2015, Mohammed bin Salman has had little patience for the way the kingdom is being ruled. In June, 2.5 years into the reign of his father, King Salman, he replaced Mohammed bin Naif as Crown Prince. Then the Crown Prince made swift, decisive moves to tighten his grip on power. Here's a closer look at the man who appears to have established himself as the most powerful Saudi Crown Prince in decades.
He is described as the power behind the throne of his father, the Saudi King Salman. The next in line to the Saudi throne is only 32, but already heads Saudi Arabia's most vital positions, such as defense and the Saudi Aramco, the world's largest oil exporter. This June, his father dismissed Crown Prince Mohammed bin Naif to make way for him. Since then, he's been busy. He's tried to rebrand his ultra-conservative kingdom, declaring a return to moderate Islam after his father decreed that women could drive cars. Then came his consolidation of power. Last weekend, 11 princes and dozens of senior officials were arrested on corruption charges. Saudi officials have tried to show the arrests as part of a broader effort by MBS, as he's known, to refresh the stagnating Saudi state. Analysts, though, say his moves amount to a radical restructuring of Saudi order. The young prince, though, appears to have the full support of US President Donald Trump. Just days before the corruption crackdown, Trump's son-in-law and key aide Jared Kushner was in Riyadh to meet MBS. What clicks with his Western supporters is the idea that MBS is leading his deeply conservative country on a forced march to modernity. He's also seen to be aggressive on Shia Iran, sharing with the Trump administration the view that Tehran is a source of instability. Back home, many see MBS as a change agent, a welcome break from the aged leaders that have controlled the lives of a nation with half its population under the age of 25. The 32-year-old Crown Prince is said to be the first millennial to occupy the throne, and that day may not be too far away. Bureau Report, WION.